It's a great question. Advice on big reveals. Lux, yeah, real quick. These are going to be the stones on the cottage. So I'll be gluing them all on, and then in between using some sort of a filler to sort of create that effect of a cottage built by found stone, like stones in the area. That's why I'm trying to get a lot of irregular shapes, and then I'll just kind of puzzle piece it on there. Okay. Any advice for big reveals for a D&D campaign? I think CLX. I think the best type of reveal, in my opinion, is the one that the players sort of that they do themselves. Like, it's a lot more work, but it's also a lot more exciting to create a situation where the players can puzzle out something, can puzzle out a reveal, and then it sort of happens on whatever timeline it's allowed to happen, on whatever timeline they put the pieces together. And that's not easy. That's a lot easier said than done. I spent months working towards one of these player led reveals, but the nice part is I think it's way more memorable for the players. Well, especially the player who actually pieces it together. That's going to be, they'll probably never forget that. The other big advantage is it doesn't feel as trite. It feels like, so in other words, like if you wanted to try to do a player guided reveal, then the players would have to get, there'd have to be sort of a series of clues, and they get some less obvious ones early on, and then once, if it takes them a really long time, whatever that amount of time is, if that's the end of the session is too long, or 10 sessions, or a year, I don't know, depending on how long the reveal is stretched out, eventually those clues become more obvious. Because if I'm honest, most of the time when I do a reveal, it never feels as impactful as I think it should. It's still like but it's not what I want it to be. And the times that it's hit the way that I really want it to be is when players figure it out, when players piece it together, and they sort of have that aha moment. And I think that maybe that's why I spend so much time nowadays trying to design investigations that allow players to piece stuff together, because that's what seems to be more rewarding. Another way I think to do big reveals, that because part of what I see in myself, which is I think counterproductive to the reveals happening, is that I have a reveal in mind and I have a time in mind, and somehow I think that's going to make it better. But then there are other times where I introduce a character. I'm like, okay, this character is going to introduce themselves and talk very plainly about this character, about their father. They'll use the name that they know for them, and we'll see if the players piece together that the person that they're talking about is like the big bad. Like, who knows? Like the big bad's kid joins the party for a little while. And I knew that it would sort of like become clear eventually in the dungeon, but before that I also had like a series of questions. I'm like, if they ask certain questions, even if they just ask like, what's your last name? Like, there are things here that are going to make it clear, right? And in that sense, if the players are inquisitive and they ask and they engage with the world and they uncover it earlier than intended, that's, again, player directed reveal. It's going to be more impactful than probably anything I thought of. Even if it's this big climactic moment, it's going to feel better. Just like anything in gaming, if the player does it, it feels better, right? So I think that'd be my advice: is in whatever way you can, let the players, whether they realize it or not, let the players direct the revelation. That's gonna hit hardest, I think.